Hello, everyone, and thanks for watching. I hope your Halloween was a good one. We had a lot of fun. Not a lot of trick-or-treaters, but a lot of good costumes. We're out here in Battle Creek for Halloween. But today, I got to talk about doing what the Senate calls the nuclear option, which just means putting democracy back in the United States Senate. The Senate has never tried to operate in a democratic way because they basically say to get closure on any bill, you got to have 60% of the votes. In other words, a supermajority. Well, how is that democratic? The House of Representatives is democratic. Why isn't the Senate democratic? I've been asking this ever since I was in elementary school when I first found out about this. This isn't right. So I think it's been time. This never should have happened in the Senate. I'm on record of this all the way back in the 70s as saying, this isn't democracy. This isn't a democratic system that the Senate has. Because they always wanted to get a supermajority in the Senate so that anything they passed, they said, well, we had to have a supermajority, 60 votes or more for closure to vote on it. Well, why? How is that right? How American actually is that? And during the Obama administration, to get their bills passed, they did what they called the nuclear option. Where that term came from, I have no idea. It makes no sense. There's nothing nuclear about saying, well, we're going to have a democratic process, because the Republicans were not voting for closure, so they couldn't get the 60% to bring it to the floor for a vote. So they did this quote-unquote nuclear option so that the majority could have closure and vote and pass the bill. Well, now, it's on the other foot. I'm for just permanently doing away with that, saying if you got 51 votes, you get closure, which means you stop discussing it and take the vote. If you get 51 votes, then it's passed. Okay? 100 senators, 51 votes is more than half. That's it. Folks, that's democracy. Right now, in this country, we need democracy. We need to open the government back up, and we need to start getting rid of these hideous bills that cost the taxpayer a bunch of money, and we need to start acting in a democratic fashion. Saying on any bill to close the discussion and go to a vote that you got to have a supermajority is wrong. Always has been wrong. I've said this before. I've been saying it for 50 years. So there's nothing new here, but it's time for the nuclear option and make it permanent so that the Senate operates the same as the House, and that some senators in the minority don't have more power than they should have. If you're in the minority, guess what? You're in the minority, and if you can't get a coalition to do anything in the minority, then you act like the minority and get no power. It's that simple. That's all I have for today. Thanks for listening to the old sergeant. I appreciate it. Bye-bye.